Hello friends, welcome to Jinesh IS Academy editorial analysis. In this editorial, we do 5 things. Firstly, we will link the editorial to the UPSC CSE main syllabus. Secondly, we will understand the key points from the editorial. Thirdly, we will understand the key concepts from the examination point of view. Fourthly, we have modeled the MCQs as per the UPSC prelims examination. And fifthly, we have modeled mains questions as per UPSC mains syllabus. So let's begin today's editorial analysis. This editorial has been taken from Business Line newspaper dated September 7, 2019, and it is all about baseless case against India's sugar subsidies. It covers UPSC CSE syllabus, GS paper 3, which had certain points like direct and indirect farm subsidies, international treaties and agreements, government policies and interventions, effects of policies and politics of countries on India's interests. Very first, the key points. Here we have Australia, Brazil, Guatemala have falsely argued that India has breached the subsidy limit under the World Trade Organization rules. These 3 countries' names are very important for the sake of CSE prelims 2020. Now, at a time when the sugar sector in India is in deep distress at the World Trade Organization, a few countries have accused it of providing subsidy support to the extent of the entire value of production of sugarcane. Now, here what explains this paradox? What are the main claims against India at the WTO? And what is the reality about India's sugar subsidies? Let us examine these questions. At the World Trade Organization, Australia, Brazil, Guatemala have initiated dispute proceedings against India. The crux of their claim is that through its sugar related policies, India provides domestic subsidies exceeding 10%. I am again repeating, exceeding 10% of the value of production of sugar, the ceiling of product specific support under the World Trade Organization rules on agriculture. After an unsuccessful consultation process to resolve the contested issues, the World Trade Organization established a panel on August 15 this year to examine the compatibility of India's sugar policies with the World Trade Organization provisions on agriculture. It would take 6 to 9 months for the World Trade Organization panel to give its findings in the dispute. Here we have a diagram and few charts. Before discussing this chart, we have a diagram, and this diagram is all about top 10 sugarcane proceeding states. We see the Satluj Ganga plain, that is all about a Satluj Ganga plain. The Satluj Ganga plain is spreading from Punjab to Bihar. It accounts for 5% of total area and 60% of country's production. The black soil belt from Maharashtra and Tamil Nadu, that is this particular plateau area. The black soil belt from Maharashtra to Tamil Nadu along the eastern slope of Western Ghat and coastal region of Andhra Pradesh. This is all about an coastal region. Coastal region of Andhra Pradesh and the Krishna river valley. It is mainly confined to the states of Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Maharashtra, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Gujarat, Haryana, Uttarakhand, Punjab, Madhya Pradesh and Assam. It means these are the key states who produces sugarcane. Here we had production and area. These all points are very important for the sake of CSE prelims 2020, like Uttar Pradesh have 41.10%, Maharashtra has second position and Karnataka will have 6.7%. In terms of area, earlier we have discussed about production. In terms of area, Uttar Pradesh is again number 1, number 2 is Maharashtra and number 3 is Karnataka. It means all 3 positions are same. All 3 positions are same. Now, sugar producing states, Maharashtra's total capacity is all about 91 lakh ton, it is massive. Uttar Pradesh has 62 lakh ton and Karnataka has 42 lakh ton. Friends, This crop required 10 to 15 or even 18 months to mature. It requires hot and humid climate. The temperature, when we are talking about, it ranges between 21 degree to 27 degrees Celsius. And once it's all about rainfall, sugarcane wants 75 to 100 centimeter rainfall. Absence of rainfall at the time of maturity is required, as heavy rainfall lower the sugar content. The very vital point is soil, loam, clay loams, black cotton soils, brown or reddish loams, and laterite are suitable for its growth. And this all states which we saw in this diagram has these kind of features, right. Now, the support measures from Indian government. Besides certain export subsidy measures, the three countries have challenged various domestic support measures of India, such as fair and remunerative prices, the state advised price, interest subvention, production subsidy, buffer stock subsidy, minimum domestic sale price of sugar, and state level measures. We can discuss all these things, like these are the support measures, and these three countries are alleging India at the WTO. This 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. These are the kind of subsidies which we are providing to our Mr. Farmer, right. When we are talking about as a sugar industry as a whole, we have a one infographics. Here you can see concepts to learn. Fair and remunerative price, Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs is there, Commission for Agriculture Cost and Prices, and ultimately these two things decide the fair and remunerative prices. But the need of the hour from the farmer side is, we do not need any schemes, we are not beggars, we just need water, right price for our crops. Now, to understand this infographics, we have to discuss few things about Indian sugar industry. Friends, sugar industry is an important agro-based industry that impacts rural livelihood of about 50 million sugarcane farmers and around 5 lakh workers directly employed in sugar mills. India is the world's second largest sugar producer after Brazil and also the largest consumer. This point is again very important for the sake of CSE and other UPSC based examinations. Now, the vital and moot point is price determination of sugarcane. Sugarcane prices are determined by federal government and state government. The federal or central government announces fair and remunerative prices, we saw in this infographics, which are determined on the recommendations of the Commission for Agriculture Cost and Prices. We already, the very first point in this infographic is all about Commission, this second point, Commission for Agriculture Cost and Prices, right, and are announced by the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs, which is chaired by Prime Minister. Again very important point, Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs is chaired by the Prime Minister, right. The state advised prices are announced by key sugarcane producing states, which are generally higher than FRP. It means SAP, state advised prices, are higher than FRP. FRP stands for fair and remunerative prices. Earlier we discussed these two things, fair and remunerative prices, right, and then this SAP is generally higher than the FRP, right, and this Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs is chaired by the Prime Minister. Now, this we will discuss about the what is Commission for Agriculture Cost and Prices. The Commission for Agriculture Cost and Prices is an attached office of the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmer Welfare, Government of India. It came into existence in January 1965. It is an advisory body whose recommendations are not binding on government. So, the Sifarish made by this organization, it is not mandatory or abide by Indian government, right. So, we can say With the amendments of the Sugarcane Control Order 1966, the concept of statutory minimum price SMP of sugarcane was replaced with the fair and remunerative price of sugarcane for 2019 and subsequent sugar seasons. That FRP we already discussed in our last infographics. The cane price announced by the central government is decided on the basis of recommendations of the Commission of Agriculture Cost and Prices that we again discussed after consulting the state government and associations of the sugar industry. Under the FRP system, friends, the farmers are not required to wait until the end of season or for an announcement of the profits by sugar mills of government. This system also assures margins on account of profit and risk to farmers, irrespective of the fact whether sugar mills generate profit or not, is not dependent on the performance of any individual sugar mill, right. Now, here we have a concept to learn about fair and remunerative prices. The fair and remunerative prices is used in sugarcane industry to replace the MSP minimum support price system. It is based on the Rangarajan Committee report of recognizing the sugarcane industry. It is very important for the sake of state services and UPSC prelims. The committee found that in the production of sugar, 70% of input cost is sugarcane. In FRP, the farmer is paid 70% of the total turnover of the company. If only the sugar turnover is considered, and 75% of the total turnover if other products like bagasse and molasses etc. are also considered. This FRP method is useful in times when the sugar prices are high, but the FRP method asks the sugar companies to pay the farmer the MSP for sugar when the sugar and hence sugarcane price is low. Again we have one infographics. Here we show certain points like revenue is shared is an equitable basis. The recovery rate is the important factor. The recovery rate, very important point to discuss. By taking the average recovery rate among mills in different states, the committee packed the revenue sharing ratio between the farmers and millers at 69:31, which works out to 70:30 when round off. And the last point is all about the value sharing arrangement is applicable. Now we will discuss all these 4 points in detail. How will the hike in FRP on sugarcane impact sugar industry? What is the difference between MSP and FRP? FRP is used in the sugarcane industry as an alternative to MSP, that we make it clear. It traces its origin to the Rangarajan Committee report we already discussed, which found that almost 3/4 of the input cost in producing sugar comes from purchasing sugarcane. Members of the committee reached a consensus that the value created in the form of revenue in the sugarcane value chain between farmers and millers ought to be shared in an equitable manner. Here we discuss the point equitable manner. Again I am repeating this whole passage. Members of the committee reached a consensus that the value created in the form of revenue in the sugarcane value chain between farmers and millers ought to be shared in an equitable manner. On the other hand, to determine the exact level of cane dues to be paid to farmers for their produce, the committee decided that revenue was to be split in the ratio of their relative costs. The cost incurred by sugarcane farmers and millers were analyzed by the committee by taking a recovery rate. We already discussed here a recovery rate, and that recovery rate of 10.31%. The very interesting fact about the recovery rate is the recovery rate is defined as the amount of sugar produced by crushing a given amount of sugarcane by weight. For example, if 500 lakh tons of sugarcane is used to produce 50 lakh tons of refined sugar, the recovery rate is 10%. Again I am quoting this example. If 500 lakh tons of sugarcane is used to produce 50 lakh tons of refined sugar, the recovery rate is 10%. So this second point is, again this second infographics is clear, right? Now the third one, By taking the average recovery rate among mills in different states as 10.31%, the committee pegged the revenue sharing ratio between farmer and millers at 69:31, which works out to 70:30 when round off. We already cleared. The value sharing arrangement is applicable not just for the revenue generated from sugar, but from primary byproducts that are sold in the open market. This include bagasse, molasses and press mud. Friends, here bagasse is used as an alternate fuel and in the production of paper, while molasses are used by distilleries, right. Very important thing about FRP is, the FRP is useful when the price of sugar is high. This means that in absolute terms the revenue shared with farmers will be greater. However, the tables are turned when the market prices of sugar is low, it creates negativity. In this case, the FRP of sugarcane will be less, even if the revenue is shared in a 70:30 ratio. To safeguard the interest of farmers, if the FRP is lower than the MSP, mills will be forced to pay the MSP on sugarcane procured from farmers. This is detrimental for the financial health of sugar mills, since they will have to pay more to farmers in a year where there is a supply side glut and the price of sugar is low. Hence, sugar should be high for the sake of millers. What are the concerns behind FRPs, right? FRP would adversely affect the financial health of the sugar factories in times of low sugar prices, where the companies have to pay the MSP even though the sugar prices are low. That we discussed, the FRP are not market based and are priced at artificially inflated level by governments. This in turn puts pressure on sugar mills, we discussed, who have to purchase the crop from the farmer at these inflated FRPs, right. And while the government has raised ethanol prices dramatically to help sugar mills and find an alternative source of demand to pay for the excessively priced sugarcane, once oil prices fall to reasonable levels, oil PSUs, public sector undertakings, would not be able to afford the ethanol. What lies ahead? India's government mandated cane prices are already 70 to 80% higher than those of Brazil. That is very important point, friends. For the sake of UPSC CSE mains exam GS paper 3, the world largest supplier, while the means India cannot export sugar, nothing has been done to signal to farmers that they need to move away from sugarcane production, as portrayed by them continuously increasing the FRPs, right. Here we have a cabinet decisions of 24 July 2019. You can see fair and remunerative prices sugar cane for 2019-20 season. To fix fair and remunerative prices FRP of sugar at 275 per quintal for basic recovery rate of 10%. These all facts are very important for the sake of CSE prelims 2020, to provide a premium of rupees 2.75 per quintal for every 0.1% increase, about 10% in the recovery, to reduce FRP proportionately by rupees 2.75 per quintal for every 0.1% decrease in recovery between 10% to 9.5%, right. Friends, to fix FRP for mills with recovery of 9.5% or less at rupees 261.25 per quintal. So, it is all about a depth of this whole topic. Here we have a graphics of Scott Morrison, the Australian PM, and our Indian PM. What they are quoting? They are quoting the nature of support under the FRP and the formula used for calculating the support. They are not happy with these 2 points, right. And on the other hand, the argument of Indian government is no procurement of sugarcane by the government, no subsidy is providing through the FRP policy. I will make this infographics very clear. What explain the divergence between the claims on sugar subsidies by the three complaining countries and India? The divergence between India and Australia on product and specific support is mainly due to two factors. First, the nature of support under FRP, and second, the formula used for calculating the support. Let us examine this whole aspect in detail. According to India, while the government announces an FRP for sugarcane, this is paid by the sugar mills and not by the Indian government, right? Further, there is no procurement of sugarcane by the government. In India's view, both these factors strongly suggest that no subsidy is provided through the FRP policy. A very similar line of reasoning has also been provided by Pakistan in the WTO regarding the support its. So, we explain this infographic. Now, outdated methodology. The view of the three complainant countries is that even the government does not procure sugar cane, right? The entire produce is eligible to benefit from FRP. Hence, the FRP constitutes a price support measure as per their point of view. Further, the subsidy should be calculated by comparing the current administered price with the so-called external references price ERP, which is based on the international prices of sugarcane during 1986 and 88. Although the methodology for calculating the subsidy based on the price based measures has been specified in the World Trade Organization rules, it is clearly biased against the subsidy granting country in at least two ways. First, and the second point is this. First, it seems rather outdated to compare today's prices, that is rupees 2750 per ton, with that prevailing 3 decades ago, that is all about 156.16 rupees per ton. See the difference in this and the present. Secondly, relying on the findings of a previous WTO dispute on Korea's beef imports, the complainants used the entire sugar production for calculating the subsidy, right? This again is problematic, as the findings of the Korean beef cases is not automatically applicable in other situations of subsidy, right? India defense finds support from the United States, which argued in dispute settlement body meeting that reports of the WTO panel and the appellate body do not carry precedental value. This highlights the constraining provisions of the market price support methodology and therefore the need to reform it. In case of an adverse ruling by the panels and the appellate body, India would have to modify all the measures which are found to be inconsistent with the WTO rules. Friends, in absence of present policies, the sugarcane sector that employs over 50 million farmers may face an imminent collapse. So, it depends on WTO verdict, which is likely to become within 6 and 7 months. Other options, if verdict will not be in our favor, the relevant question arises whether it is feasible for India to explore other provisions of WTO, agreement on agriculture to notify actual budgetary support due to FRP SEP policy instead of using the market price support methodology, right. Under the AOA, that is agreement on agriculture, an alternate method is feasible provided the FRP or SEP is based on a price gap. The benefit of this approach is that it will reflect the actual level of support to the sugar sector as opposed to exorbitant claims made by complainant members. Further, this approach would provide considerable policy space for the sugar sector without breaching the 10% ceiling. To illustrate, the total budgetary domestic support to sugar sector was only 0.9% of the total value of sugar, in contrast to alleged support of 99% of value of sugarcane in 2015-16. It is a very important point, friends, and we just darken it in red, so point to be noted. Our policy makers need to think seriously along these lines. Now, what is going in the WTO? In conclusion, we can say Australia, Brazil and Guatemala are using the WTO dispute mechanism to penetrate India's huge domestic market, right? That is their niyat about India. These complainant members have exported more than 70% of their respective sugar production in recent years. Combined export of these three countries comprises about 53% of total global exports of sugar in 2017-18. See the data which reveals, while India would certainly defend itself ably at the WTO, the policymakers should be prepared with a contingency plan in case the country gets an adverse verdict, right? Because it is all about the WTO. Here we have a concept about what is WTO and what is Agreement on Agriculture. We will discuss Agreement on Agriculture. AOA is aimed to remove trade barriers and to promote transparent market access and integration of global markets. Agreement on Agriculture stands on three pillars. First thing is domestic support. It calls for reduction in domestic subsidies that distorts free trade and fair price. Under this provision, the aggregate measurement of support AMS is to be reduced by 20% over a period of 6 years by developed countries and 13% over a period of 10 years by developing countries. Under the subsidies are categorized into, first thing is green box, subsidies that do not distort trade or at most cause minimal distortion. They are government funded and must not involve price support. They also include environmental protection and regional development programs. Green box subsidies are therefore allowed without limits provided they comply with the policy specific criteria, right? That is all about the green box of WTO. Next is amber box and the blue box. Amber box, all domestic support measures considered to distort production and trade, with some exceptions, fall into the amber box, as all domestic supports except those in the blue and green boxes. These include measures to support prices or to subsidize directly related to production quantities. Blue box, this is the amber box with conditions. Such conditions are designed to reduce distortion. First condition is any support that would normally be in the amber box is placed in the blue box if the support also require farmers to limit their production. And at present there are no limits on spending on blue box subsidies. These concepts are very important to understand the functioning and working of World Trade Organization. Here are 2 points: market access and export subsidy. Market access for goods in the WTO means the conditions, tariffs and non-tariff measures agreed by members for the entry of specific goods into their markets. The market access requires that tariffs fixed like custom duties by individual countries be cut progressively to allow free trade. It also required countries to remove non-tariff barriers and convert them to tariff duties. Last point, export subsidy. Subsidy on input of agriculture, making export cheaper, or other incentives for exports such as import duty, remissions, etc. are included under export subsidies. These can result in dumping of highly subsidized and cheap products in other country and damage domestic agriculture sector of other country. Here we can discuss all about the dispute settlement body of the World Trade Organization. The dispute settlement body of the World Trade Organization makes decision on trade Disputes between member countries. DSB consists of all WTO members. The DSB makes all its decisions by consensus. The DSB has the sole authority to establish panels of experts to consider the case and to accept or reject the panel's findings or the results of an appeal. It monitors the implementation of the rulings and recommendations, has the power to authorize retaliation when a country does not comply with a ruling. Right. Now, here we have an important point, how they calculate subsidies. Subsidies provided by WTO members are calculated with reference to international prices, which are assumed to be the competitive prices. In the negotiation leading to the adoption of the AOA, we already discussed AOA, the international price of each commodity was a fixed external reference price taken as the average of the international prices during 1986 and 88. For developing countries like India, the market price support for a crop cannot exceed 10%. And now the all three countries are afraid of this 10% of the total value of its production. India's market price support to its crops never exceeded 10% of their value of production. However, the United States has challenged India, arguing that its market price support to the major crops is well above this threshold. Friends, from this point, certain question will be likely to appear in CSE Prelims 2020. We have certain model questions. First question is, which of the following is not the objective of the WTO? And the right answer is D, mean to improve the balance of payment situation of the member countries. That is not the profile of WTO. Apart from these three, ABC is the profile. Next question, which will be again important for the sake of CSE Prelims 2020, with reference to the fair and remunerative prices, consider the following statements. First statement, it is determined on the recommendations of the Commission for Agriculture Cost and Prices. We already discussed in detail, that is true. It is announced by the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs, which is chaired by the Prime Minister. Which of the statement given above is correct? These both statements are true. Thus, answer is C. Again, we have a very important question. With reference to the sugar export policy of Government of India, consider the following statement. First statement is about the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs, chaired by Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi, has given its approval for providing a lump sum export subsidy at the rate of rupees 10,448 per metric ton to sugar mills for the sugar season 2019-20. The total estimated expenditure of about rupees 6,268 crore will be incurred for this purpose. Third statement, the lump sum export subsidy will be provided for expenses on marketing cost, including handling, upgrading and other processing cost, cost of international and internal transport and freight charges on exports of up to 60 lakh metric ton of sugar limited to maximum admissible export quantity allocated to sugar mills for the sugar season 2019-20. Which of the statement given above are correct? Here all these three statements are right, means D is the right answer. Friends, the surplus stock of 162 lakh metric ton of sugar would create downward pressure throughout the season on sugar prices, affecting liquidity of the sugar mills, thereby leading to accumulation of cane price arrears of farmer. To deal with the situation, the government has recently created buffer stock of 40 LMT. LMT stands for lakh metric ton. It means 40 lakh metric ton of sugar for 1 year from 1st of August 2019. However, even after taking into account this buffer stocking of 40 LMT till 31st July 2020 and likely diversion of sugar by way of production of ethanol from B heavy molasses cane juice during 2019-20 and requirement of normative stock for 2 months, there shall be about 60 LMT of excess sugar stock that will need evacuation through export. Thank you very much, friends.